Well, some Americans have begun receiving $1,200 checks authorized by Congress and the president. It was part of the $2 trillion rescue package. Congressman Charlie Crist supported the package. He represents Florida's 13th congressional district, which covers Pinellas County from Clearwater to St. Petersburg. He was also Florida's 44th governor. He's also served as the state's attorney general and education commissioner, as well as serving in the state Senate. And Representative Crist, welcome back to Florida this week. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Rob. It's always great to be with you. It's a pleasure to be on this evening. Thank you.
I hope your health is well.
My health is good, as far as I know. I feel very good, actually, and I hope yours is as well, Rob.
I'm fine. Yeah, thank you for asking. I want to ask you about the remarks that the president made on Friday. First of all, the president tweeted to his followers that he wants them to liberate Minnesota, Michigan, and Virginia. How do you read those remarks?
I don't know how to read them. I don't really know what he's talking about. I think that we're all liberated in America, at least I hope so. But I think that maybe what he's talking about is probably the opening up scenario and getting America back in business. I think he's talked about May 1st in the past. And maybe he's talking about some of those Midwestern states that are a little more reluctant to open up too quickly. And frankly, I'm concerned about that, Rob. I think that, we all want to open up. We want to get back to normalcy, but we want to be smart and we want to do it right. And we want to do it in a way that makes all of us as safe as humanly possible. And we've seen examples where additional, people being, what would you call it, afflicted, if you will, with the COVID-19. And it's awful. We're in new territory for sure. And I think that we need to rely on science and physicians for their advice as to when it is the best time to start opening up more rapidly, rather than politicians making those decisions. So I'm going to rely on scientists. My dad's a doctor. My sister's a doctor. I rely on experts when trying to make decisions about things of this nature. In particular, it's a pandemic, and we need to be smart about how we handle it.
Well, we heard this week that the Paycheck Protection Program, the $300-some billion approved by Congress to go to small businesses, has run out of money. What's next for that? Does Congress go back to the drawing board and order more money?
Absolutely. We're here for the long haul. And, we've had now 4 stimulus packages, and you're exactly right, Rob. The last one was $2.2 trillion, about $350 billion of that for small businesses. And I've heard from my constituents here in Pinellas County and throughout Tampa Bay, frankly. And the bottom line is we need to have a deeper bottom line. And so what's being discussed right now as we sit here is adding additional $250 billion more for those small businesses to be able to continue to get through this difficult time. And I guarantee you, as a member of Congress, I know how my colleagues feel. And it's not partisan. It's Republican and Democratic alike. And the idea is we have to do what's right for the American people. They're our boss. This is a difficult time. We have to get through it, and we have to be united to get through it. And thank God we are.
So on the flip side, those Americans who are getting those $1,200 checks, $1,200 is not going to go very far. After a month, that money is going to be gone for most people. What are your plans for the $1,200 one-time checks? What's Congress going to do?
Same answer. It's not going to be one time. It's going to be 2 times if it has to be. It's going to be 3 times if it has to be. We have to do what's right for the American people in this difficult time. I mean, we did it before. I recall the Great Recession, which I don't think was great at all. But working with President Obama, he helped Florida. I was governor of the state at the time, a Republican then, I should say. But we worked together as Republican and Democrat to do what was right for not only the people of Florida, but the people of our country. Same thing's going to happen here. It already has. We just need to accelerate it. I understand there's a frustration with getting the monies that people want. And that's something that kind of is a little slow when it comes to government. But once it gets cranking, as we learned in World War II, we turned over the automobile industry, if you will, into making tanks and other things that were necessary for the war effort. We're at war with this pandemic. We are at war with this virus. And Americans come together. And if anybody can handle this, it's America. We're the richest country in the world. In fact, we're the richest country in the history of the world. I have every level of confidence and faith in God that this is going to work out and we'll get through this together.
The New York Times and Forbes have pointed out that in the rescue package, there's also some money for some very wealthy people and wealthy corporations. And I want to ask you, some millionaires, real estate investors, hedge fund people who are already wealthy are getting money in the bailout package too. The president has fired the inspector general who has oversight and looking to see if the money's being misspent. How does the American public have faith that money is not going to go to people that don't deserve it?
Well, number one, it's dead wrong. That should not be happening. And the notion that the president feels compelled to fire the inspector general, who's supposed to overlook how those monies are being distributed, doesn't add any faith or confidence to what the administration is doing, the Trump administration. And so that's very disappointing. But the good news is Congress has oversight responsibilities. And I guarantee you we will exercise it. We will hold hearings. We will monitor it day by day. We'll make sure that these monies are spent appropriately and correctly and for the people who need it most. And that's the people who have the least amount of money. I mean, why would we be giving, that kind of money to millionaires and billionaires? It just isn't right. And listen, I understand that this is not a perfect piece of legislation. No piece of legislation is. But this has been the quickest way that we can get money to people who need it the most. And if mistakes are made along the way, Rob, I've heard people explain it as though we're trying to build a plane as we're flying it. And there's a lot of truth to that analogy. But I think that as we're flying it, we're going to find where the parts are that need to be left out. And we'll take care of that, and we'll take care of it quickly.
As the week has gone on since the rescue package was passed, we've heard from members of the Postal Workers Union that say that the post office was left out. Some cities are hurting because of this recession that's brewing out there. Some states are hurting. And we're also hearing that hospitals need money too. So, how much more money? First of all, let me ask you about the post office. What's your position? The post office is losing money right now. It's still delivering a ton of mail, if I could use that. But is there a rescue in there for the post office?
Oh, there will be. It is. Yes, it will be. And it will be in there. We need the post office. The old expression, I mean, you and I are old enough to remember that, they deliver the mail, whether it's snowing or sleeting or hail, it doesn't matter. They always deliver the mail. And I think that we need to make sure that continues to be the case. Let me just give you one example. So I rent an apartment here in St. Petersburg where I grew up. I also now have to rent one in Washington, D.C., where I work most of the time, except right now we're all kind of hunkered down like most of America. But the check that I sent in order to get the monies to my apartment in Washington, I sent it over 3 weeks ago, hasn't gotten there yet. So we have to make sure that the Postal Service is supported always.
Well, Representative Crist, one last question. At the same time that we're in this recession, it means that we're driving less, we're going to the doctor less. Some people have suggested that the insurance companies, the health insurance companies, the automobile insurance companies ought to refund some of the money that we've paid in over the last few months back to the consumers because, we're driving probably 10% of what we used to drive, and we're certainly not able to go to the doctor as much as we wanted to, and not that many people are going out. And many doctors' offices and dentist offices are closed. Should insurance companies refund some of the money to consumers?
No question about it. It's just the right thing to do. Common sense tells all of us that. I have a yellow wristband that I wear, try to wear every day. It says, practice the golden rule every day. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. It's out of the book of Matthew. All we have to do is adhere to that, and we'll be fine. And God willing, we'll be great.